Here we go. Awesome. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad that you're all here tonight. We have two phases that we're going to be doing tonight. We're going to be answering the "oh no" question. Everyone gets that moment where, oh, what do I do? It's okay. I promise. The world will not end. I will show you how to handle it. It's quite similar to the stuff that we do for table topics. So it's a piece of cake. You'll be okay. And I promise we will have fun with it. The second thing we're going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about the difference between online personalities and people skills, such as things for the PR and how the PR is supposed to be handling the way they interact with different people. And there's two different sets of skills, and we have to decide which one we want to use when and how we make them effective whenever we choose to use either one of those. So let me share my screen first, and let's go directly into the oh no questions. Sharing my screen with the oh no and say share and start the slideshow. Start the slideshow. Okay, does everyone see my screen? And it's a single slide, correct? Awesome.
Yeah.
On the upper right-hand corner up there, you see my name, my email address, and my phone number. Please feel free to take that down. I want to remind everybody, you are not in this alone. No matter what I talk about tonight, if you have questions, that's my email address and my phone number. Please feel free to contact me at any time, day or night, except between the hours of 2 and 4 a.m. I do need some sleep. I want everyone to know that no matter what happens, you will get through it. The world will not end. So let's talk about the oh no, because we have all been in those situations where all of a sudden someone asks you a question and you go, oh my God, what do I do now? Well, the first thing you do is you give them that look. What are you talking about, Willis? Feedback to them. It's okay. Don't worry about it. I promise the world is not going to end. You will be okay. They will be okay. You just simply have to breathe and take your time. They picked on you. What do? I can't think of an answer right now. First thing you do, breathe. Breathe. Don't panic. Everybody, right now, everybody, take a deep breath. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. One more time. In through your nose and out through your mouth. And now, do you feel more relaxed? May's shaking her head no. That means she needs to do it 3 times. It's okay. Just think about this. If you're nervous, you can use pauses and deep breaths. If you have to, May, take a deeper breath. It's okay. What happens is the lack of oxygen in your brain causes your prefrontal lobes to not trigger thought processes. And what it triggers is your fright or flight syndrome. And if you turn around and you take that deep breath and you force that oxygen into your brain, your body will relax and you will be capable of thinking. Your panic is stopping you from breathing. And if you force yourself to breathe, you force yourself to let go of that breath you were holding on to, that you never even knew you were holding on to it. Everything will be okay. I promise. Your frontal lobe will release. The flight or fright symptoms will go away. You will be capable of thinking, and you don't need to worry about the audience's reaction. Why? Because every single person in that audience has been in the exact same spot that you're in. They just forgot to breathe. So you're one better than they are right now. The next thing you want to do, once you catch that breath and your brain starts triggering and thinking, and all these things start going on, go with your instincts. The very first thought that you have as a response to that question is probably the right one. How many people have taken tests in school? Raise your hand. If you don't raise your hand, I know you're lying. How many of you have taken the test? It's multiple choice. You've selected an answer, and 2 questions later, you go back and change that answer. And then find out when you changed it, you're wrong. You had the right answer to begin with. Go with your instincts. Your first answer is almost always correct. Take that first answer and do it. No problem. The same thing that applies at school applies right here, applies anytime that you have that oh no situation. Just go with that answer. Your gut tells you what that answer is. The very first thing that comes to your mind is it. Sooner or later, a different idea will pop into your head, and all of a sudden, whoop, there it is. It's okay. You have it. Even if it's just a little idea to start with, start talking about it. It will expand. It will give you what you want. If you reject that idea, no bigger answers will come along. No other answers will follow. You will be stuck. That little idea will eat away at you. Don't reject it. That answer will sulk. It will block the big ideas from ever getting through. So just go with what you have and let the information flow out of your mouth. I promise you, it's better than changing your answer and getting blocked. You should always try to give things like opinions. And don't make your introductions long. How many times have you been out there and you heard someone speak and they sat there and they talked about this and blah, blah, blah. And 5 minutes later, they finally get to that point. Oh my God, what a freaking windbag. Hey, nah, we don't need windbags. Forget the long introduction, right? A boring answer becomes an answer with nothing that's coherent. There is no meaning behind it. The person you're talking to is thinking you're a complete idiot, and they're tuning you out. Get to the point right away. Answer the question. Express an opinion of some sort. Tell them how you feel directly from the start, and then justify it. Justify it with some sort of strong supporting statement, something with strength that will hold up your idea and make that person think, this person knows what they're talking about. Offer the reasons why you either agree or disagree with the opinion that the speaker or the question came from. It's easier for a closed question such as, what's your favorite holiday? But if you wanted to do some other things with it, you can always repeat the questions in a different manner. You change the way your thought processes go on. If you say, what is your favorite holiday? Perhaps you can repeat that in a different way and make it in your favor by saying, my favorite holiday is, and then your answer will suddenly pop out. Your mind is like a set of filing cabinets. And in your subconscious, when you have that question in your head, it's going through those filing cabinets at a speed of light. Look. And finally, you open up that drawer and there's that answer and it pulls it out. And you have that instantaneous recall of any type of a computer. It's okay. You get it. If you put it in context of yourself, you will always have the answer because you are you. And everything about you is you. There is no wrong answer. So repeating the question and answering it reinforces the idea of the topic inside your head. It helps you ensure that you yourself understand that question correctly. And it gives you time to formulate the response that you want. Instead of just saying Christmas, you say, my favorite holiday is Christmas. And that formulates the response because as you're saying that, you're thinking in the back of your head, why is it your favorite holiday? And all of a sudden, while you're there, you have those strong supporting information that you can just blurt straight out and give an answer. So much for the oh no. Mr. Bill, oh no. The next thing that you can always do, you can always draw on your own experiences. You have lived your life. You know where you are. You know what you went through. When in doubt, tell a story and be yourself when you tell that story. When you're given a question, you can ask yourself if there's anything in your own experience, what happened previously in my life that will answer the question now? And how will that be able to illustrate the argument I wish to present? As well as making it easier for you to answer a question, your personal reply will often sound more heartfelt than other answers you might give. Heartfelt, because you were there, you lived it, you experienced it, you felt the emotions that were there, you felt everything in the scene, and all you're doing is telling your audience that story. When you do that, you are the winner, and the oh no is so slow. Next, I highly recommend that you be as eccentric as possible on every one of your answers. Avoid a conventional answer, because if it's conventional and everyone answers like it, it's boring. Nobody wants a boring answer. We want some fun. We want to have life going on. Everybody, I'll tell you, if you get out there, people may never remember the words of your speech, but they will always remember how you made them feel while you were giving that speech. So be eccentric. The best question responses are often those where the speaker avoids a serious or conventional answer and instead try something very unusual or maybe even entertaining. For example, you can deliver a speech in character. If you're going to get up there and give some sort of prepared speech or something like that, you can always dress the part, especially here on Zoom. We're all actors here on Zoom. It's easy to do. Deliver an unexpected or contrarian argument. A lot of times people turn around and say, or they ask questions like, oh, if you can go back and you can talk to one person anytime in the whole history of the world, who would that person be? And I always say, I want to talk to God. I don't shoot for all these little slow things. I right to the top. Go as high as you can go. I want to speak to God. I want to know what's inside God's head. Why is he doing this? And why is he allowing it to happen? So always be eccentric. Go way out there. Don't be afraid to step outside that comfort zone. Don't be afraid to give an answer that other people, oh my God, this guy is crazy. Wow. It's okay. Have fun with it. By doing these type of things, you can grab the audience's attention and free yourself from any constraints of any conventional approach that is out there. Your audience will love you for it because you are being yourself, you are being honest, you are being true, and they will appreciate it. Now, you can always spin the question and make it yours. For instance, someone asked the question, oh, what's the history of the fork? Well, hell, I don't use a fork. I use spoons and chopsticks. I'll tell you the history of chopsticks if you want, and go into that. Make it your own. Make it something that you know. If you don't know the answer for the question that is asked, switch up that question. There's nothing that's stopping you from switching up. You can make the question yours by responding to a similar question with different ideas that you do have some knowledge of. Again, it's all about how you make that audience feel. And you want to talk about your own personal experiences. So find something in you that relates to the question and then speak on that. Feel free to respond in the way that makes sense for you. And that sense will come through to the audience. Now, I do have to caution you that you should always remember the 6 honest serving method. It's very important that you remember these. Rudyard Kipling's 6 honest servicemen always will trigger ideas in your mind. In any English class, we used to call these the W family. And by actively looking for the answers to these type of questions, we can give ourselves both the material and the framework to put together a well-structured speech on the fly. 6 honest serving men will get you through anything. I promise the world isn't going to end. You're not in this alone. You want practice, we can do it. We are here to help. And now I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to open up for questions and answers. So who's got questions on the oh no effect? And if you don't have the right answers and the right questions, just blame Vivian because she came up with the idea.
I have a question.
Yes, May. Yes, ma'am.
About switching up the questions, we can possibly do that for table topics, but in job interviews, I don't think not answering the question.
You most certainly can.
Really?
You most certainly can.
How? I mean, how would you do it?
Right. Same way you do it in table topics. It's not an issue. Throw out a question out there. Ask a question from an interview.
How do you eat lasagna?
Well, I really don't like lasagna, so I don't eat lasagna. I do eat spaghetti though. And when I use it, I would use the chopsticks and I would use a spoon and I would pick them up together and I would twirl them like this. And then I would use it with the chopsticks this way. So you can change it up.
How would you write a certain computer programming script?
Well, first I would probably look at it and decide what I want to do it in, because there's all sorts of different languages that I want. And then I would pick the one that's most common to me. So where you might want to see something in C, it's probably easier for me to do it in English. I'll just write it out in English and then you can follow it and then we can just transpose it to C later.
Okay, you make it sound so easy, but
it is easy. It's very easy.
Not in job interview.
Oh, no. It's okay. Don't worry. Don't worry. It's okay. If you don't get the job interview, if you don't get the job based on your interview answers, it's okay. That job wasn't meant for you. You just go on to the next one. It's okay. Yes, Nadine, you had a question?
Well, I actually had this oh no moment when I was in a job interview when my boss asked me, So what's it about you that is so good about you? Like I had to sell myself and I don't know how to do that. And I don't think there was a way to turn around the question, oh, what's so good about you? Or I don't know.
Hey, look at me. Everything's good about me.
Without making it corny, you know? So,
Why would you not make it corny?
well, because
Be
it's a job
yourself.
interview. I don't
Yeah,
know.
be yourself. Be as eccentric as possible. I, uh, you guys are taking this, and
Too serious. Okay.
you're conforming your job interviews in a certain realm and saying this is the only way to. Do you know what my introduction letters used to say? When I was going for a job interview, my introduction letter said that I was God's gift to the world of testing.
Come again, the God gift of?
I was God's gift to the world of testing. When they saw that on that introduction letter, they immediately called me. That was the first thing they wanted to talk about. Be eccentric.
What was your
Be,
answer?
be outside the box. I promise you, if you're outside the box, people will look at you differently, even in job interviews. If you say the same blah, blah, blah answer that everyone else says, they're just going to pick the person they feel most comfortable with. If you want them to remember you, stick out. I promise you, they will not rely on your answers. When they go to make their choices from a job interview, they will rely on how you made them feel. Because if you make them feel comfortable and you make them feel like you're going to be great to the team and they feel like you're going to be an asset to that team, they will hire you. If you make them.
I feel like, oh, sorry, I was going to jump in here. Is that okay?
Yes, go ahead.
I was going to say, I feel like I can attest to that. There's times where like I took of course you want to take the job, you want to look professional, you want to take the job seriously, but there's times where I was just myself. And I feel like that has been some of the best interviews. And it really did help me to stand out. And also something I thought of when thinking of an interview question that I had, it was more so, can you name a time where you were under pressure and you had to perform? Like, can you give me an example of that? Or something like that. And I remember kind of answering it in a different way. I didn't necessarily avoid the question, but I said, yeah, I don't know if I can necessarily think of a time I was under pressure, but there was one time where like something similar and I kind of answered it. I gave them an answer that would, it was like not avoiding it because I know what you guys are saying. I also was thinking the same thing there. But yeah, it was almost like I diverted to a different answer, but it landed, so got the job. But yeah, I love what you're saying about like being eccentric. I feel like everybody is, so you know, if you try to be like everybody else, you're not going to stand out. And actually, I had a question for you too, Jim. I think at the end you mentioned those questions. I kind of missed that part. What are those? When do you use those type of questions? It was like the very last slide.
The 6 honest session.
The 6 honest men.
Yeah, yeah.
Use them anytime you're stuck with an answer. If you don't know an answer, ask yourself those 6 questions.
Okay. I wish I would have wrote those down. Is there any chance you could
Who, what, where, when, how, why.
Oh, okay, cool. Easy enough. I can't remember.
Yeah, if you're on the phone, correct?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can drop anything into the chat, but if you send me your email address in the chat, I'll just send you a copy of the slides.
Cool. Thank you.
I am going to drop the slides into the chat room for everybody, so everyone can have a copy of those. And Kayla, just in case you're wondering, when they ask you that question, the very first answer that should have popped into your head, you mean I'm not under pressure right now? What?
That's good. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, just make it fun. Play with them. Be eccentric. I promise you, it's a lot more fun. All right. Any other questions? Going once, going twice?
Jim,
Nothing else?
Jim,
Yes, Vivian.
if the question were, how will you increase sales now that business is opening up after pandemic? It's so hard to answer that.
Why?
Because there's no statistics we can rely on. So
Well, it's not asking, you're not asking for statistics, you're asking for a methodology. So
okay.
what you're asking is, how am I going to increase sales? Well, I'm going to have to go get more customers. And this is how I plan on doing it. A, B, C, D. I'm not.
And if you don't have a plan, what's a good? I mean,
Make a
it's
plan.
really tough. It's really
You
tough,
make it.
right?
No, no, no. In business, if you're not planning to win, you're planning to fail. So you have to have a plan, and you create that plan, and you work that plan, and that's the way that you go about doing business. Otherwise, why are you in business? If you don't have a plan, you're never gonna win. Your business is never gonna make any money. Why would you bother staying in business at that point? You have to have a plan, and you have to be able to follow it. It's no different than here in Toastmasters. We have a club success plan. And inside that club success plan, it delineates, these are the things we're going to do throughout the year in order to reach our goals at the end of the year. So long as we follow those things and we accomplish those things like we say we're going to, we will reach our goals at the end of the year. It's when we deviate from the plan that we screw ourselves over. And it's the same thing in business. If we deviate from the plan, we're screwing our business over.
Great. Thank you. I love you to the moon and back.
I love you back. Okay, so if there are no other questions for this section of the meeting, I would now like to switch over, and I want to talk about the personalities, whether we're going to be a people person or we're going to be an actor type person, on a virtual person on the internet. In this particular case, we are actually both. We are doing people skills and we're acting at the same time. And if you don't believe me, just look. Every single box there is a video, and we're recording it, and it will be on YouTube forever. Surprise! You will live in infamy. So Vivian, you had some ideas about the two. So would you like to lay out both sides first?
All right. There's two kinds of animals in the planet now, and they're here in this room. Like, we have young people who are technically savvy. And then there's dinosaurs from the prehistoric age called Jim and Vivian. Throw us anywhere, we will talk anytime, anywhere, to anyone about anything that we don't know anything about, and we will survive and be the life of the party because we're wacky. Kayla, there's two kinds of wacky here. Wacky is me as in wacky. Then there's another kind of wacky with an H. Jim, show Kayla the kind of wacky that you have. That's the sound. Whack. There you go. Wacky and wacky. Then there's the young ones like you. You can put anything online, anytime, easily. And Jim and I are like, there. Then there's a position in Toastmasters called BPPR where they expect you to put anything and everything online. And then when you go to a meeting like this, you're like, that person's new. What will I talk about? Jim, I've heard this answer. I said, why don't you talk to her? The answer is 10 times out of 10, because I don't know her. Well, you're not going to know her if you don't talk to her. That is my issue. If you don't talk to people and you're in PR, go to Jim and ask him, what do I do now? So Jim, what do we do now?
Vivian, if you are in the room with that person, tickle them.
Battery.
You just need some sort of reaction. Come on. Toastmasters is supposed to get everybody over the fear of talking to strangers, right? That you're talking in public, and everyone joins Toastmasters because they're afraid to talk in public. Well, you're looking at the guy who jumped off mountains when he was a kid. Come on. There's no fear. I don't have any problem going out talking to anybody at any time, like Vivian said, on any subject. It makes no difference to me. So I don't understand what that fear is. Although I do understand that everybody seems to have that fear. In order to get over that fear, there's something called rejection therapy. And it's very simple. If you guys really want to get over that fear, it's very simple. Come with me. We'll go to the mall somewhere. And all you have to do is say hi. I don't care if the person responds to you or not. Just say hi. Any stranger, anywhere. Hi, how you doing? And just keep walking. Hi, how are you? Yes, you're gonna look foolish. Yes, you're gonna feel foolish. It doesn't matter. You're talking to a stranger. You're getting over that fear. It's easy. Now, if you want to turn around and make it a little more in depth, then go up to some stranger and say, hi, my name's Jim. Let's go get some coffee. I can imagine what Nadine is going to be looking like when she walks up to somebody like Clarita and says, hi, my name's Jim. And the guy goes, what? Go for it. Be eccentric. Get out there. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If they say yes, you go, you get a cup of coffee, and you sit down and you talk. You're talking to a stranger. You're solving that problem. If they say no, it's okay. You go to the next person. You're building self-confidence in yourself to talk to strangers. It's okay. No problem. Nadine, you have your hand raised.
Yes. So Kyla and I were actually like in the chat talking that it's actually harder to talk to people in your own company. Like for me personally, talking to my boss gives me like this, oh my God. All right. I think there's this lot of expectations and to myself of how I want to be and how like I want to be confident and not
Awesome.
look like, so and then talking to my boss is actually harder than talking to any random person on the street.
Exactly.
Okay. Number one. You don't care about confidence. Don't care. Doesn't matter. You don't need to sit there and show off for your boss. Be yourself. Number two, the only thing that separates you from your boss is the education your boss received that you did not. If you went out and got that education, you'd be in the same position that person is. Not an issue. It's just an education. Number three, that person puts on their pants the same way you do. It's okay. Be yourself, talk as yourself, and explain everything based on your own personal experiences as yourself. And I promise you, your boss will respond. If you turn around and you try to sit there or you try to stand there and talk to him and say all these things that you think he wants to hear or you think she wants to hear, I guarantee you that boss is tuning you out. Guaranteed. Don't try to think for the boss. Just simply answer the questions the boss has, and the same way you would inside a Toastmasters meeting. Be yourself, and you'll be perfectly fine. Yes, Kayla.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't have any problem speaking with you guys. Like I'm the same way where I went to a work trip. We all meet as a team. We all work virtually, and we met in Mexico. And when we were there, it's like everyone thought I was this shy, weird girl over Zoom. And we met in person, and I'm like the most talkative. I crack jokes all the time. Like I was just myself there. And by the end of it, they're like, we thought you were like shy. Like what? It's just like I show up as a different person. And I think part of it is maybe just when people are going around the room, it's more so pressure that's put on you when you're kind of like put on the spot. But I find even when, for example, they were going around the room, they're like, what was your guys' favorite part about this trip? You think that'd be an easy question to answer, which it is, right? But it was like the minute that they started going around the room and it got to me, like my hands were sweating, my heart was beating out of my chest, and I froze up. It was the most embarrassing moment. And then afterwards, when we were done, I started talking to them all again. They're like, "Well, that was weird. I never expected you to freeze up that way." So, I mean, what else helps with that? I know you said breathing. I mean, that does help because half the time I forget to breathe when I'm in that circumstance. But what else can really help with that when you feel the pressures on you?
You did not ask yourself the 6 honest men question.
Can you give an example of that?
Where, what, when, how, why.
Like
What,
what's
what was the favorite thing that happened to you while you were there?
honestly just connecting with everyone, the relationships that I
There,
built.
there you go. There's your answer. Why was that so important to you?
Because I loved getting to know everyone more and building those deeper connections because that helps me to work with the rest of my people in a better manner.
How does that help you?
That helps me to just understand people at a deeper level and allow me to, um, I don't know. Now I feel like the pressure's on again.
No,
I
but
don't know.
you see, you're answering the questions, and if you realize what you're answering, the questions you're answering, you're putting together the story. So if you had just asked yourself those questions in your head, you would have that story come out of your mouth immediately.
Oh, okay, so you're saying you asked me what was my favorite part. Why was that? Why is that important? So you're
Yeah,
just kind of going through. So it doesn't have to
sure.
be in order. It's just like whatever comes to your mind, you can use that
Yes,
framework, sort of.
yes, yes. As long as you're asking those 6 honest questions, you'll always have an honest answer.
Wow, I think I've overcomplicated my life. Thank you.
You're welcome. But now that you're here and I have your attention, I have to ask you, Migliano, is that an Italian name?
It is. I get the question all the time.
Awesome.
Indeed.
Cool. Half Italian here. The other half is Irish.
Wait, really? Wait,
Yes.
what?
Yes, I'm half Italian. And
Yes,
I
I
was,
am.
and I sat there tonight and I sent May some pictures of the food that I cooked, and I happened to cook pasta vazul. And when I decided I was going to cook pasta vazul, I sat there and I just started laughing and laughing. And my ex roommate was visiting. He was sitting there asking, "What the hell are you laughing about? What's so funny?" I said, "If Americans tried to say this word, they would pronounce it pasta fagioli because they wouldn't be able to pronounce fazul correctly." I take it you don't get that. You don't understand pasta vazul.
What
Wait,
is it? I'm
this is-
sorry.
It's an Italian soup. Oh, all right. I'm gonna type it in the chat room so you understand.
I'm 50%, but I don't know Italian.
That is the way it's spelled.
Oh,
Oh,
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I
So
wouldn't get
this is-
pazoo.
Yeah, of course, right? You wouldn't get fazul out of that, right? You'd get fagioli or something,
ravioli.
right? And so I just started laughing. It just struck me as being hysterical. So anyway, I got off the subject. Let's go back to personalities. Okay, so anything else on personalities, Vivian? You have anything else there?
Here, help me here. Because well, let me see. Because I'm trained to never have dead air in a podcast, on radio, or on TV, and this happens in real life, what I do is if the other person doesn't answer, I keep talking to help them find the answer until someone told me, you know, you gotta shut up if you want people to talk. I said, but they were not talking. And the rest of the table was waiting for the person to say something. Realize that perception is reality. I always thought I was helping make the party lively. And the other person told me, well, actually, she takes a long time to process, and you should give her all the time to answer. And she takes a long time to answer. You should give her all the time to answer. I said, "Oh, it sounds good, but we forgot one thing." And she said, what's that? I said, this is a party. We're just trying to have fun. We're not having class recitation. We're not having a final exam in chemistry. So this is where I help people remember when it's a social situation, it is a social situation. These are just my opinions. But the fear always comes out that we're giving the wrong answer. People tell me that, I'm afraid I'm gonna give the wrong answer. I'm like, what wrong answer? They're just, as Jim said, asking for your opinion on anything. So get out of the classroom from 5th grade with Mrs. Smith, where she said, wrong answer. You don't live there anymore. That was yesterday, a couple of decades ago. But that's just my answer because I did not talk from 1st to 6th grade out of fear. I know the feeling of giving the wrong answer. Once I realized that life is not a test, that it's just a conversation, well, look where it got me today. And you can do better than me. Why? Because you have wacky Jim telling you how. There you go.
So Kayla dropped in the chat room saying, oh, you don't want me on the show, maybe you're Kayla, I have the ultimate answer for you. Every time she asks you a question, just blurt out the word, pasta fasul.
That's perfect.
Nice one.
So
Jim.
you're right. You're right there, Vivian. There's a lot of times where you ask a question and then all of a sudden there's dead spot. Right? If you ask a question and they don't answer, I personally, if they don't answer within 3 to 4 seconds, then I will try to give them some sort of a, because you don't want that dead space. You don't want that airs to be there, because it takes away from whatever professionalism thing that is going on. For instance, the other day when we were having problems with the technical difficulties, and I asked you to entertain the audience while I get out and come back in and try to solve the issue. Right? It's always important to have somebody or something going on to make something happen, so that space isn't there. The person who told you that, oh, they take a long time. You know what? If they take a long time to move on to the next person, it's okay. No big deal. Just move on to the next person. So Kayla, if she doesn't want to answer and she's going to sit there, oh no, it's okay. Just ask Nadine. Then Kayla will turn around and have an answer and say, wait a minute, I have the answer. And then she can talk. No problem.
Isn't it good? I've been actually instructed to leave a little bit of space, mainly in the context of an interview, but just in general. I sometimes speak right away because I don't like silence. I like to fill the space. But doing that, sometimes I do fumble over my words because, like you're talking about earlier, you think of saying one thing, but then you kind of switch it maybe because of, I don't know, for many different reasons, right? I just said it right there. I was going to say something else and I just switched it, which allows you to fumble. But isn't it good to almost gather your thoughts before jumping in right away? Isn't it good to have that pause to kind of know what you're going to say? Because I have a tendency of either jumping in too soon, which then also can lead to me rambling as well. I have a problem with being concise, if you don't notice.
The answer to your question is yes. It's good to think. But you shouldn't be thinking more than 3 to 5 seconds.
For sure. Yeah. So that's a sweet spot.
So If you want to do it, just think of it in terms of 2 breaths, just like we talked about in the other one. Deep breath and out, deep breath and out, and then turn around and start answering. Your deep breath will allow you to calm. It'll allow your oxygen to get to your brain. It'll allow you to think, and it will allow you the time necessary to line up and put your answer in the order that you want it to be in. And then you just go. Breathing is important. You're right. You're not going to die. Nadine. You're muted, Nadine, so
Yes,
I'm going to go
yes,
someone
it
else. Oh, okay.
Not so fast. I didn't get my 3 to 4 seconds. So I just wanted to add on to that what sometimes if I don't know the answer right now or like right away, what I do is I like what Jim said, to just take the same question and say it again. So I'm buying myself time to actually think about it and calm down and get out of the freeze instead of just sitting there breathing. I'm like, oh, you're asking me what was my favorite lunch yesterday. Let me think about that. Breathe. And then I can actually talk about it because I got this moment of just like getting into it. And it's not awkward. Like nobody noticed that is like weird or anything. So that's actually something that we do at table topics often. And there's a question where someone asks like, what was the most impressive thing in your life? And it's like such a big question that you're like, oh, I don't even know how to answer it. But instead of freezing, you're like, what is the most impressive thing that happened in my life? Now let me think about it. And then you start the story. So it's like, it gives you time. I just wanted to add that on. So.
Well, if there's anything more impressive than you being born, I'd be surprised.
Aww. Oh, I feel the love.
So Vivian, you had your hand raised, then we'll go to Lolita.
I'll make this quick. Remember what it was like to be a kid in kindergarten. Remember the line? Let me put my thinking cap on. You'll have them laughing when you have pickup lines. Have at least 3 pickup lines. Jim would know, but that's how we tackle dead air on TV and radio. Let me put my thinking cap on. For me, my favorite one, oh my gosh, I'm having senior moments. And that buys 1 to 2 seconds. Have your standard 3 pickup lines. Or the best one you can ever say is the best one ever. Let me call wacky Jim Kearney. He'll have the answer. There you go.
What?
But something funny.
What? Pajamas? What are those?
See, just keep them engaged and make it light, because the moment you freeze and you start to think, you get uncomfortable. Everyone gets uncomfortable. Remember, I didn't talk when I was in elementary because I was afraid I had the quote unquote wrong answer. But as Jim said, this topic is about people skills. You just want them to like you and you want to like them. That's really what it is. We're so afraid that they're not gonna like me. So keep that out of the equation.
Awesome. Thank you, Vivian. Lolita, you had a question.
Yes, Jim. So you said we had to talk out of the box so that people can remember us. How do we achieve that? So, we are not used to those, and the opportunity to be out of the box gets very few times. So how do we achieve that? How do we need?
You have the opportunity every single time we have a Toastmasters meeting. You choose not to use that opportunity. Now, I look at Toastmasters different from everybody else. People come here because they say, oh my God, I'm so afraid to talk. What am I going to do? I don't know what to talk about. It's okay. None of that matters. For me, I'm in 14 clubs. I pay $45 in every single club every 6 months. I put a lot of money into Toastmasters. I am going to talk and speak at every single opportunity I get because I'm not going to get better if I don't. And you should be looking at it the same way because it is your hard-earned money that you're putting into this club. And you should be speaking at every single opportunity you get. Anytime someone asks a table topic question, if you haven't answered a table topic question yet, your hand should be going up and you should be answering that table topic question. Anytime you have a chance to speak, you should get up and be a speaker. Anytime you have a chance to be an evaluator for someone, you should get up and be an evaluator. You should fulfill the roles. You should be a general evaluator, a Toastmaster, whatever. Just so you get up there, just so you get up in front of people and you speak, because that's what you're paying for. This is a safe place for you to make your mistakes. This is where you learn. This is where everything that you practice comes into real stuff when you go out there into the real life. But this is where you do it all. And if you're not taking advantage of that, there's nothing I can do for you. That's your choice. I can't make that choice for you. So if you want to take that opportunity to get outside that box, get up and speak. Do you really want to do it?
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to hold a training session 2 weeks from now, right?
Let's go. That's exciting.
Look at that. See, even Kayla's agreeing. It's exciting. Step outside that box.
Hmm.
Scaredy cat.
Oh.
It's okay. You see my point, right?
Yes, I
You
see
see
your-
my point.
exactly.
All right, so we are coming up on 1 hour. There are no other questions specifically related to this. I am going to stop recording and then just open up for general talk. Are there any other questions specifically about the stuff that we covered tonight? Hearing none, I'm going to stop recording.